Welcome everyone to LuchaWorld Podcast episode number 65. Fredo going solo again. Kurt is still on assignment. He's actually watching every episode of Lucha Underground. For those of you who are wondering where he's at, he's promised he's going to watch every show from start to finish. And when he returns, he will give us a complete rundown of the entire first 3 seasons of Lucha Underground. I was planning on doing this podcast last week. Didn't have time to do it because the only real time I had was right after Lucha Underground. But then the Dodgers were playing the Cubs that day, and that game went rather long. Actually, I could have probably done it because I think that was the blowout at that point. Yeah, that was the game where they. No, I don't think that was a blowout, but that was a long game. Yeah, I guess I should talk about baseball first because I should mention congratulations to the Chicago Cubs for winning because they really did. They earned it. They were the better team. How the Dodgers won 2 games and almost came close to winning a third game had Roberts not made that mistake in game 1 where he decided to I think he overthought that inning and really loading up the bases to get Chapman out. I mean, that wasn't going to work. Probably something he he definitely regrets it because not only would that have been a game 1 win, but they would have been a left-handed pitcher, which the Dodgers rarely beat. I mean, they struggle against left-handed pitching. I mean, all season long. So yeah, once the Cubs bats warmed up against Kenta Maeda, you pretty much knew it was going to be, and not just Kenta Maeda, but Julio Urias too. You knew it was going to go. You knew it was an uphill battle for the Dodgers. But still, it was a fun series, despite those two horrible final games. Let me see, what else was I gonna talk about? Yeah, I was gonna do it on Wednesday night. Game ran long. Then I realized there was another game on Thursday. I wasn't home on Thursday too, so Friday was the only other option. But as most of you know, that's the day we all sit around and watch CML on Claro Sports. And I definitely wanted to watch that because it was Block B of the Universal Tournament. And as everybody knows, we love tournaments. Actually, we don't, but it did have Volador Jr. and all these other guys in it. And I think it was more curiosity to see who was going to be the one facing Valiente. Yeah, the big news this past week really came out on Saturday where Solo Wrestling, the website that interviewed Jack Evans about a couple of weeks ago, they reported that Jack Evans had been fired by AAA. If you were following this on Sunday, if you were following the Lucha Underground Twitter account, you'd know that well, actually not their Twitter account, just social media in general. Jack Evans is still with Lucha Underground. He worked the Phoenix show, one of the Phoenix shows. I think it was the noon show. And so those of you who were wondering if he was gone from Lucha Underground, he's still there. It's about the same thing as Phoenix, Rey Fenix, and Sexy Dulce, Sexy Star, where they're still part of Lucha Underground but are no longer with AAA. Jack, I mean, I admire what he did because he didn't just talk about himself and his struggles with his situation in AAA, but he really shed a light on why so many of the guys are leaving or not satisfied with their current situation in AAA. That comment he made on La Parca, I don't know why. I understand why La Parca got offended by it, but it's not something that no one else thought or has said publicly. I mean, there's a lot that's been said privately about AAA and La Parca, but that was probably one of the tamest things that I've heard anyone say about La Parca. I mean, somebody saying, and it's also because in Lucha Libre you really don't. In Mexico, they don't really put down guys' work rate. Like, I talk to guys and they don't even talk, like with Electroshock. He's working in IWRG, and I know a few guys from IWRG who, I mean, they don't say he's bad, but because they understand he's a name, so they'll refer to him as being a big name and somebody that they have to beat to to increase their own reputation. But it's not they don't really talk about his work rate or anything. And well, I think that was one of the things that happened with Jack over La Parka. And really, I don't think the comment on La Parka was really the downfall for Jack. I think it was really everything he said in the interview, talking about Konnan and how the AAA TV has been much worse without him. The problems going on with the AAA office and the talent, and how difficult it is to get them to listen to you and take your suggestions. Which obviously, I think him getting fired kind of points out the issues that AAA has with talent. I kind of at the same time, I think Jack kind of knew there was a chance that this could happen. I don't think he expected to be fired, but maybe really the comments he made, worst case scenario, I think you maybe keep him off Star Battle Japan, the show that's coming up this week, maybe one of the TV tapings. But I don't think they should have fired him for the comments he made. You have to be able to take some of the criticism, and sometimes the criticism is going to come from your own talent. I mean, there's a lot of guys who will privately talk about their promotions and stuff that goes wrong in that promotion. Jack went the wrong way, making them public. But it's his mentality is more. It's more of the American mentality, where if something's going wrong here in the U.S., we're going to voice our displeasure about it. Whereas in Mexico, wrestlers don't really do that as much. Hopefully that gets resolved at some point, because I think AAA. I don't know why they would even fire him, considering the lack of talent they have in that promotion right now. They have Dave the Clown. I mean, there's promoters that are getting talent from AAA that are getting Dave the Clown as part of the Psycho Circus package, and I don't know. That's just not equal value to what Psycho Clown was in that. And then there's other people that, I mean, some of their shows look so dreadful. I mean, Big Mommy's on cards. I mean, they can barely fill a lineup without bringing in the Lucha Underground crew, which it's going to be more expensive than actually having Jack Evans there, who lives in Mexico. So I don't know. I have no idea what it's just silly for them to fire him. I mean, they're not adding anybody. They've had so many guys they've let go. I mean, Taurus, Cibernetico. I mean, yeah, you could replace Cibernetico. You could probably say Cibernetico. They replace Cibernetico with Pagano, and be okay with that. But then you're the rest of the talent, like Rey Fenix. They haven't added anybody to replace any of those guys. It's just it's really the situation in AAA is really weird. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, they brought in Vampiro to. I don't think he's the level of. I mean, Triple Mania. Just the first time he did the announcing. I think it was what was it, last year's Triple Mania, where he couldn't, he complained on Twitter about not getting any information from the office concerning talent and who's going to be on the show. So I don't think he's one of those guys who's going to be scouting. That's the one thing Konnan, you could knock him for a lot of stuff, but he really does scout talent. He knows talent. He actually goes out, if he tells you, when he does his podcast and he talks about how send videos so he could watch them, he'll actually watch the videos. He'll actually he actually scouts talent. I don't see Vampiro doing that, and I don't think anybody in AAA right now is doing that. The other thing for Jack Evans, I mean, he talked about he kind of the interview. He kind of put down the AAA office. In a way, maybe it was better for him to leave AAA to get fired by AAA, because if you hear about the how they get booked, I don't think he would have gotten the level of bookings through the AAA office because of it. So maybe he's better off just going on his own and finding the bookings. Uh, I mean, I know he's gonna. I mean, there's the Crash promotion. There's a lot of indie promotions out there that could always use him. He could get more U.S. bookings. Um, I don't know. I mean, this is a weird situation. It's weird because I want to talk about positive stuff about AAA, but there's never anything going on, and we'll probably have later on. I'll talk about some other stuff on AAA, and it's not positive either because it's from Konnan's podcast, and there's some interesting. He had some interesting stuff to talk about, including this really funny story about Joaquin Roldan's how Joaquin Roldan actually has a thumbtack budget, and so I'll talk about that in a bit. I want to get to CMLL because there was a couple of the Universal Tournament happened. The first two, Block A and Block B. Block A had the surprising victory of Valiente. I mean, I don't think anyone had Valiente winning that Block A part of the Universal Tournament, and he actually beat some pretty big names. He beat Nero Casas, Maximo, and Ultimo Guerrero. I don't think I think when the last podcast I did, I think I had him fifth or sixth overall as the likeliest one to win. I don't know if maybe Barbara Carbonario not being in the tournament, maybe that kind of like changed their plan. I don't think it was that because even if you think about that, before we get to the rest of it, Volador Jr. won Block B this past Friday over La Máscara. If Volador Jr. winning, I don't know if maybe that was the plan all along to have Volador Jr. win Block B, but with Valiente winning Block A, it's kind of weird because if you go back to that one in that tournament Block A, Volador Jr. actually had some rivalries with Ultimo Guerrero, and then one with Místico. If you watch all those Informa shows, you'll always notice Volador Jr. and Ultimo Guerrero do not get along on that show. They either really do a great job of making you believe that they don't like each other, or they really don't like each other. Volador Jr. and Místico always have weird issues when they're together with as the Sky Team. And then they end up with Valiente, who's the one that actually gets along with Volador Jr. I found that interesting. Valiente, I kind of think he got the Ultimo Guerrero, the win over Ultimo Guerrero because of that one last Informa he did where he really praised Ultimo Guerrero. If he beats Volador Jr., maybe that's going to be part of that whole thing where he praised both of them. It's weird. Ever since Valiente started wearing the tiny trunks, he's been getting a little bit more of a push. We'll have to keep track of this push to tiny trunk situation for Valiente. Volador Jr. beat La Máscara, like I was saying. I actually thought when Valiente won that La Máscara was going to be the one he would face, because the other rudos were basically, I think, Rey Bucanero, Luciferno, Festo. I mean, for those three to actually win, I thought they had no shot of winning. I don't think I had with Valiente winning. I didn't think Atlantis was going to win. Dragon Lee, I didn't think he would win either because there's nothing with him and Valiente from the past. But Volador Jr. versus Valiente, I think that's an interesting matchup. The other thing on this past Friday's during the Universal Tournament, La Máscara faced Dragon Lee. La Máscara got help from Rush, which is continuing on the whole Ingobernables reunion. And at the end of the match, after he helped distract the referee so La Máscara can beat Dragon Lee, Dragon Lee was not happy, demanded a hair match with Rush, which I think would be great. I don't normally brother versus brother feuds don't really work well in wrestling. I think they always end up having like this weird issue where the fans don't really fall for it or something. But I actually can believe Dragon Lee versus Rush just because Rush is such an asshole. I mean, he comes across as such an asshole, and Dragon Lee's like this really aggressive technical, and fans actually I could totally see that working well. I was hoping they would do a La Máscara Rush versus Dragon Lee Místico match for this upcoming Friday Dia de Muertos show, but instead they're doing they're doing La Máscara. They're doing the relevos increíbles. That's what they're calling it, relevos increíbles of Los Ingobernables of La Máscara, Rush, Pure Oath versus the Guerreros Laguneros. I would have just gone with Dragon Lee, Místico, and Caristico in that match. I think Dragon Lee, Místico, and Caristico are wrestling the Hijos del Infierno on that show. I don't know why they didn't just do that match instead. Should be. I'm really curious to see if they continue with that feud. Hopefully, I hope they do something with that. I like the idea of a La Máscara Rush feud. But back to Valiente versus Volador. I'm really curious to see how they do. I think it'll be a good match. Volador Jr. This probably will continue the string of Volador Jr. having great matches on Fridays. That's really been I can't remember the last Friday where we didn't have at least one good match. Because even this tournament, even during the last 2 weeks of tournaments where tournament matches haven't been, because really the tournament matches haven't been very good. The Volador Jr. La Máscara match was okay. I did like the Valiente Ultimo Guerrero match a little more because that actually had Ultimo Guerrero kicking out of Valiente's finishers, so I actually thought he was going to win. And I think that even added more to the surprise that Valiente won. But on those two shows, the 10-14 show, Dragon Lee, Guerrero Maya Jr. and Máscara Dorada teamed up to face Guerreros Laguneros. That was really good. Máscara Dorada has been amazing in this. That guy's been amazing in this tournament and on these shows. I think they're gonna miss him when he leaves. And I think he's going to miss CML because he's not going to do a lot of the stuff in WWE. But I think, you got to he'll enjoy his time there until they finally cut his. I'm sure there's going to be moments where he's going to wish he was in CML where he could be a little more creative. I don't know how creative he's going to get to be in WWE. That same show on the 10-14 show, they had the Dinamitas back. Horrible. I thought that was horrible. Somebody needs to stop booking the Dinamitas. This past Friday, they actually had the junior. They're calling. I think they call them just the Familia Dinamita or Junior Dinamitas, and their match was really good. Cuatrero, Forastero, Sansón versus the Panther, Blue Panther Jr. and Esfinge. Good match. I really hope they start putting more focus on Cuatrero and Sansón and Forastero. Why those guys aren't more often on Tuesday shows, I don't know. That Nuevos Valores show, they just... the only thing they had is Drone. Really wish they'd put more focus on that. This past Tuesday show had Drone's debut, which you could tell he looked really nervous in his debut match. They didn't really want you to know who he was or anything. At some point, they must have decided that they couldn't cover up who he was. During the match, the only thing that you knew that told you he was Hombre Bala Jr. was he did this the Arabian Press, which he's done in the past, and I think he does a Spanish fly in a not a Spanish fly, a Spanish fly. He does a move where it looks exactly like that. The following day on CML Informa, Drone was one of the guests, and he was, for some reason, like, he made a comment where he was talking about his debut, and then like midway through it, he decided to say, for those wondering, that he was Hombre Bala Jr. I was glad that he was able to get that out, because he looked relieved he could finally admit that he was Hombre Bala Jr. Everybody pretty much knew it. How I found out it was him, if you notice he has a lip piercing, and the voice sounded exactly the same as Hombre Bala Jr. when he first did the when he first at the press conference when he did the drone when he did his promo, he had to really like talk really slowly and force his voice a little more. And when he finally showed up in Informa and finally did admitted he was hombre bala, he he um he got to be a little more he sounded more like himself. And good for him. I mean, he brought up how he thought Hombre Bala Jr. had reached the point where he wasn't going to go any higher with that character. I wished he did because I actually dug the look. I actually like the Hombre Bala Jr. look more than Drone. Drone to me kind of looks like a cartoon character. Like I was saying, it kind of looks like a combination of what the Blue Blazer and Lasertron, one of the versions of Lasertron kind of looked like. And I don't think it looks as good as I thought the Hombre Bala Jr. looked good. Maybe CML just didn't want to put as much in behind that character because it wasn't their character. I don't know. Hopefully, just from looking at the most recent lineups, he's kind of higher on cards now. So hopefully, I would hope they would focus, like, I don't know, maybe put him in a main event match on Tuesday. I mean, Tuesday's supposed to be a Martes de Nuevos Valores. They're really not doing anything. They started that whole thing, and I think the first couple of shows, they would have at least one or two guys in the main event that normally weren't in main events. But lately, they haven't really been doing that. So I don't know why they don't just do that. Drone, I mean, I think he could do well in those main events. I mean, he's no worse. He's a lot better than Diamante Azul, and Diamante Azul is main eventing some CML shows, and he sucks. Some other news from CML. The Sabado Retro show is on Fox Deportes. I don't think I brought this up on the last show, but they've had the last 2 weeks have been I guess they're doing one Sabado Retro is covering 2 weeks worth of the CML show on Fox Deportes. It's on every Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. The first week they had if I'm trying to remember this correctly, I think it was the second match and the main event. And then this past week with the third match and the semi-main event from the September 3rd tapings. If that's the plan, because I think every couple of weeks they have boxing at Arena Coliseo. So hopefully that will continue. So I'm guessing like in maybe not not these next 2 weeks, but in 3 to 4 weeks, we might get Puma Tiger and Hechicero teaming up. It's something new. I really like the way it looks because it's Arena Coliseo. I really missed watching the shows that they would do in that arena. Super Porky's one of the announcers. He's okay as an announcer. The bad thing with them splitting the shows to every like 2 shows, one taping covering two weeks of the Sabado Retro shows, is that we're getting a lot of Canelo Casas, Archangel, Arcangel, Scandalo. We're getting a lot of those matches that you don't really want to watch. So unfortunately, that's going to continue. And some of those, I don't know. I mean, some of those main event matches don't look that promising either. But for every show where we're getting those matches we don't want, we're going to get Hechicero, Puma, and Tiger. So that's the good thing out of all of that. Ring of Honor announced that they're gonna have CML wrestlers for their, I think they're November 3rd and 4th shows in Texas. I might be off on the dates on that, but they're Texas shows, and they announced they said that they were gonna have two CML luchadors, and they announced that they were gonna be the Panther and Misterioso Jr. I actually think the Panther will do well. Misterioso Jr., I think he'll do fine. Like I was saying, I think a lot of us who watch CML kind of get tired of watching these guys so many times because we watch them in so many of the similar trios matches all the time. So, or the same matches where it just really bores the hell out of us to watch these guys. And them going to Ring of Honor, they're gonna get to do something different. I'm not sure about Misterioso Jr. I hope he's gonna be a little bit more of more creative in the ring. The Panther should be fine. I don't see him having a problem there. I'm hopefully that, worst case they end up being in the match together, so at least the Panther can do a crazy tope into Misterioso Jr. I wish they would have had Cranio in that, if anything. As I mean, Cranio is very underrated, but the worst thing you could have Cranio get toped by every single person in his match. I also like that Ring of Honor had us tweet out guys we wanted on their shows, and I think so far, I think we're maybe like 3 out of like 7 or something, because I think they booked a lot of guys that I don't think anyone would have wanted. Misterioso Jr. or Okumura. Angel de Oro wasn't really mentioned, but yeah, I think the Panther. I think he did get some mentions. Dragon Lee's returning for Final Battle. And I think the weekend shows for that in December, for the Final Battle show, and I think he's getting a TV title match. Not sure if it's Final Battle or the TV taping that same weekend. I don't really follow Ring of Honor, so because for one thing, I don't get Ring of Honor on my television. I know everybody's gonna tell me you could watch it online, but honestly, between watching CMLL, AAA, IWRG, Lucha Libre Elite, all the indie wrestling that gets uploaded by all these people who are posting Lucha Libre Boom matches and Cara Lucha matches and all this other stuff, I think Ring of Honor is probably, and Lucha Underground also, Ring of Honor, TNA, all this other, WWE. It's kind of like at the very end of stuff that I really want to watch. But yeah, hopefully these guys do well. I'm sure they'll do well. What else is going on in CML? Yeah, that's about it with CML. Back to AAA. Konnan's podcast Boom, episode number 24. If you haven't listened to it, highly recommend it. He talked a little bit about Rey Fenix and how AAA is contacting the Boxy Lucha commissions, not just in Mexico City, but in Tijuana and other parts of Mexico, telling them that he's not allowed to wrestle. Kind of trying to get them to tell not have him wrestle on shows, telling them that he still is under contract to them. And Konnan mentioned he really would like to see them prove that they have a contract where Fenix isn't allowed to be on these shows. It's a really good show. The other thing on Konnan's podcast Boom, really the highlight for me was a fan wanted to know why Eterno, Violento Jack, and Kira weren't in AAA for a very long time, and Konnan decided to give his opinion on. Actually, he mentioned why they weren't there. I think he started out. He went one by one, talked about Eterno. I think he mentioned how Eterno broke his leg at one very early in his time with AAA. Yeah, I think it might have been because I think they did the Anarquia trio, and I think a few weeks into that he broke his leg, and Konnan was talking about how Eterno broke his leg he can't remember the tapings, but it happened at outside of Mexico City. So instead of taking Eterno, who had suffered a broken leg during the match, instead of taking him to the hospital, a nearby hospital in that city, they decided to have him travel back in the bus for 4 hours, and then they would take him to the hospital in Mexico City. So basically, he had to go in pain he spent 4 hours of pain on the bus back to Mexico City. Konnan kind of mentioned that pretty much was the end for Eterno wanting to be in AAA. I'll get to Violento Jack third, because the second one was Kira. Kira was the third one they asked about, but I wanted to mention her second, because the Violento Jack one leads to a pretty funny story. With Kira, he mentioned that and the other thing was I don't think Eterno was well liked by the Roldans. So they pretty much just decided not to bring him back. With Kira, Konnan mentioned that the Apache sisters were very anti-professional with her. They didn't like her. The Roldans didn't really like her. They didn't hate her, but they also didn't think that they wanted her to lose weight in order to keep her going. And I guess they liked her work, but they thought she was a little too she was a little too chubby for them. Konnan mentioned that Kira doesn't have a problem with the way she looks, and thought they were crazy, so she ended up not going back to AAA. Konnan also mentioned that they tried to get her to come back right after he had left AAA, and she turned him down. And she's been working independent. She worked the Crash show with that Konan's a part of. She works a lot of indie shows in Mexico City. She's very talented. I'm surprised CML didn't bring her in when they brought in Haruchita and Metallica. If they brought in Kira, I think Kira probably would have given Zeuxis a run for her money as the best worker in CML right now, as far as the females go. Because I mean, really, Metallica is already probably the fourth or fifth female wrestler in CMLL, and I mean, I don't know if that's because she's pretty good, but I mean that kind of just tells you how weak the women's division is right now in CML. Haruchita and Senali are pretty new to the promotion, to CML, and they're already pretty much already surpassed some of the other women in CML. So Kira's been working a lot of indie shows. She had no interest in returning. Violento Jack, Konnan mentioned that Joaquin Roldan did not like his style. He wasn't really fond of Lucha Extrema as far as Violento Jack went at that time. I don't think they had a problem with Lucha Extrema. Maybe they just didn't like Violento Jack. Because they later brought in Pagano, and Pagano, I'm sorry, I mean, Violento Jack is a lot better than Pagano. At least he can do some stuff in the ring. But the idea that Konnan had for Violento Jack was that he wanted to do Lucha Extrema with, I think it was Crazy Boy that he mentioned, and Joe Leader. So maybe Joaquin was wise. I don't know, maybe we should thank Joaquin Roldan for turning down Violento Jack for that reason. I guess, so basically that's the reason Violento Jack wasn't brought back, because Joaquin Roldan didn't really like his style, or wasn't as into it at that time. The other thing Konnan was talking about, they were coming up with I think it might have been Violento Jack, one of his matches with AAA. They were gonna Konnan was gonna go purchase some thumbtacks, and he was gonna get 500 thumbtacks. Well, Joaquin Roldan told him that he only needed to buy 50 thumbtacks because he didn't want to spend too much money on thumbtacks. So then Konnan was confused because thumbtacks, I think they sell them in packs of 200, 100. I mean, I'm sure they might sell them. I don't really buy thumbtacks, so I wouldn't know. But I'm pretty sure last time I purchased thumbtacks, I think they are more than there's a lot. I think it's usually 200. So Konnan was saying he didn't understand. If you're gonna buy 200 thumbtacks, you're usually gonna get packs of 200 or more. And he didn't understand if they were gonna have a match involving thumbtacks. 50 thumbtacks weren't gonna look as well as 200 or 500 thumbtacks. So he never understood that. I just thought it was a funny story that Joaquin Roldan had a thumbtack budget, and I don't know. I mean, that kind of tells you the state of AAA with their whole. If they're having thumbtack budgets, I don't know. It's just one of those things where you kind of. I really want to do a podcast where I speak a lot of glowingly positive reviews of AAA, but every time we do a podcast, I mean, even the shows, I mean, Héroes Inmortales, I mean, some of the stuff I'm just not into watching, and you know, it's weird because when I ask people, well, how what'd you think of the show? Like this, Ring and Rock Stars, Liger Fever watched that and he said he didn't like that. He thought that show was horrible. So like, and then I know some of the guys who do the gifs and all that stuff. They talk about how bad some of the matches were. So it's just like I think I'm selective viewing AAA at the moment based off what I would imagine would be the good matches. The other promotion but I did watch a couple of matches from this is the other promotion that's going that I promised last time I was going to try to start watching a little bit more of their matches. Elite. The cool thing about Elite, if you find the unofficial Elite YouTube channel, it's called Liga Elite. Just type in Liga Elite. I subscribe to it, but I think I subscribe to it, but one of the things that they don't, I think they have it like private or something. I don't know how they have it set up where it doesn't show up in your subscription. So you have to actually look for it to find it. But one of the cool things they do is that they put the full show and then they post the split matches. And so you know more or less what you want to watch or what you don't want to watch. And this past week I saw they had Blue Demon Jr. versus Rey Escorpion. And Rey Escorpion can probably, I mean, he's awesome. But there is no way I'm going to watch a Blue Demon Jr. versus Rey Escorpion match. I'm just not interested in watching that. I ended up watching the Alley Park versus Caristico cage match just because I was curious. We were talking about, I think if you listen to Lucha Talk on MLW Radio, we were talking about how one of these days Elite was going to top that horrible finish of the Rush Diamante Azul match from 2 weeks ago on one of the Tuesday shows. And LA Park and Caristico, that match wasn't that bad. I actually kind of liked the cage match. Usually cage matches I'm just not really into. One of the problems I have with Elite's TV show, they have a habit of airing replays as the action's going on. And at one point they were replaying the spot where LA Park power bombs Caristico on two chairs. But right before they were replaying that, you could see that Caristico had set up a bunch of chairs, like stacked on top of one on top of the other. Not like completely just the chairs placed, side by side like they usually do, but the chairs just all like on top of one another. And they were going to do that spot where I think LA Park was going to either power bomb him or Caristico was going to do like a Frankensteiner and drop him on there. But we don't know because they aired a replay and they not only aired the replay, but they like replay the replay. And it's just like, it's like a replay and then like another extended version of that replay. I don't know why they're doing that, but it really took away from the match. The match itself was good. Rey Escorpion got interfered in the match. I actually liked. The one thing you notice with Rey Escorpion on this in Elite, he comes off as such a great rudo. I think that kind of shows you, like, if you were to pick, if you told me to pick the top two rudos in all of wrestling, Rush is number one, and I really think just from seeing Rey Escorpion in Elite, he's the second best rudo in all of, and not just Mexico, but probably in all of wrestling. Both guys are fantastic. I think that's what's helping Rey Escorpion, that he's not being overshadowed by Rush and also Ultimo Guerrero and all these other guys in CMLL, whereas in Elite, he's kind of like the main rudo. You have LA Park is well liked. Caristico gets a back, depending on the arena, he's gonna get loved or hated. Whereas Rey Escorpion is just naturally a rudo. And he did really, I really dug that he came in and did attack LA Park. Caristico was a bloody mess in this match. The finish of the match was a little weird, where LA Park and Caristico took down Rey Escorpion, and then LA Park helped Caristico climb out of the cage, so he gave him the win. And last I checked, this is for the Liga Elite standings, which nobody is really keeping track of. And I think even Elite has kind of given up on keeping track of it, because I don't think they showed the standings. I could be wrong because I didn't watch the full full show, so I don't know if they're showing the the stand. They might have had the standings on there. Um, but it's weird because I think right now they have LA Park, Caristico, Rey Escorpion, Blue Demon Jr., Extreme Tiger, and Cibernetico are the only guys that are still in the Liga Elite tournament. So it's just really weird. I'm not sure what's going on with that. The cage match, yeah, you guys should check it out. There's some stuff that, I mean, it's a cage match. Some stuff I wasn't really that into. I just really dug the crowd was really into that match. Rey Escorpion was, I mean, really hated, and I mean the fans booed him. He comes off as a great rudo in this. Worst case, if Elite ever dies, I hope Rey Escorpion comes back to CMLL and he gets proven. It's proven he could be a legit number one or number two heel in that promotion. The other match that I watched from Elite was this trios match: Emperador Azteca, Hijo de LA Park, Zumbi versus Diamante, Doctor Caronte Jr., and Imposible. This is the type of match that should be going on Tuesday shows for CMLL that never happened. This is the type of match that if CMLL had on Tuesdays, I think we'd all be watching the Tuesday shows every week. Maybe not at the top, but somewhere in the middle. Something like that would have been great. This match was wild. It kind of reminded me of the IWRG matches from like probably the mid 2000s or early 2000s where they Freelance and Mike Segura were doing those. Were just doing crazy dives into the crowd. I think Guerrero Maya, when he was multifacetico, got into that also, and Dr. Cerebro, where they would just do dives and try to hit everybody in the crowd. There were a few times where there was one time, I think it was Hijo de LA Park, did this tope towards, I think it was Diamante, and like nobody told the crowd. They didn't go into over the guardrail, but the crowd, when Hijo de LA Park hit Diamante, you see the first row of people there just like look shocked. Like they just look like completely like stunned that dive happened without them being told or anything. Imposible, I think it was Imposible that threw, I think it was Emperador Azteca that he threw into the guardrail that broke the guardrail. I think it's just like this wooden paneling that they had. Yeah, that's definitely a match you guys should watch. Really liked it. I mean, all these guys, for a group of guys that are just like random dudes that you bring in, Diamante, I don't think I've ever seen Diamante as entertaining as I did in this match, which really says something about his time in CMLL. So yeah, that definitely a good match. Go check that out. Now I have to talk about Lucha Underground because I thought that was probably I think it was the best episode from this season. Great show. I thought all the matches ranged between good and great. Nothing was really that long. I think the longest match was like, I think the last two matches were probably under 9 minutes, somewhere in the 9-10 minute range. The first match was Diario Cueto doing the Dial of Doom thing for Matanza, where he had to defend the title, the Wrath of the God, the whatever title, the Lucha Underground title he has. I had them mixed up with Sexy Star's belt title, which that's gonna be that. I gotta talk about that too because I think Johnny Mundo needs to figure out a better way to spend his money. But back to the Matanza face Killshot, really good match. Killshot, I'm telling you, the first time I saw Killshot, I thought he was just the guy that I kind of thought he was kind of like he had all these great high spots and stuff like that, and a lot of like strikes and stuff, but he didn't really have anything in between, and I thought that kind of like I wasn't as impressed with him. But man, he has really grown on me in the last several like this season. I mean, really, the match with Marty the Moth, and now this match with Matanza. I thought he did really well against Matanza. Matanza looked great also. I thought Killshot, he had no shot of winning, which, you know, that's pretty much the whole thing with the Dial of Doom thing. I think when you look at that, I don't think you think any of those people have a shot of winning. Matanza ended up winning with the Wrath of the Gods. Good match. The post-match stuff was great. AR Fox debuted. They didn't give him a name. They didn't announce a name for him or anything. They just brought up how this was a guy that the way Killshot, they went with the way Killshot reacted to him, like as somebody he knew from his past, and they were wondering who he was. Then AR Fox attacked Killshot, left him laid out, took off his dog tags, dropped them on Killshot, said a few words, walked off. End of that segment. I thought it was a good segment. Really enjoyed it. The following thing that happened, they had announced that there was a trio. The trios champions were going to be in action: Drago, Fenix, and Aerostar. Dario came out and announced that that there was going to be that this match was going to be the winner of this match was going to get an opportunity to be the 20th participant in the Aztec Warfare. He announced that there was going to be Aztec Warfare was going to come back on in a few weeks. I'm trying to remember what else happened on this. They were going to have a trios. They thought they were going to have a trios match, and he told them. And he kind of reminded them that he kind of told them that there wasn't going to be a trios match. What was going to happen was they were going to face each other in a 3-way match, with the winner being earning the 20th spot in the Aztec Warfare. Fenix, the last time he was in Aztec Warfare, I believe he was the first person in. So this was his chance to be the 20th guy in that match. But the other stipulation in this match was that the two guys who didn't win the match weren't going to be a part of Aztec Warfare. So, this match, you could tell there was some editing in this match, because at one point, Fenix got busted wide open. I think he broke his nose in this match, because he started bleeding heavily. But if you notice, when he broke his nose, you just see him grab his face, and suddenly he's just out of the ring. But the match was really good, great actually, for considering the stuff that apparently happened during that match. Drago beat Fenix and Aerostar. I just think these guys are really great. Fenix, props to Fenix for just continuing that match. He did some cool stuff. I mean, he bled a lot in that match. I'm glad the El Rey Network allows blood. And for any of you guys who actually watched this past week's Lucha Underground, I don't know how many of you guys actually tuned in early, but they were showing Hellraiser. I think it's Hellraiser. That shit was scary. I know I've seen Pinhead, and I've seen some of the characters from that movie. I've never watched that movie, but I ended up catching like the final 5 to 10 minutes of that, because I tuned in early. That shit is scary. I have no idea. That stuff is like, I don't know, man. I don't know who watches that stuff, but I wasn't expecting that stuff. It kind of freaked me out. And that's from like 1985, I think. So I remember that stuff when they were announcing that stuff when I was a kid, and I'm glad I did not watch that when I was a kid. That's all I'll say, because that would have given me some nightmares. The match was great. Definitely, like, just from these first two matches, I mean, I would have just said this was probably the best episode they had. But then right after that, right after Drago won, they had a skit where Cobra Moon was crawling. She crawled into the men's room to congratulate Drago. I guess Drago was at one point part of the Aztec tribe that Cobra Moon is a part of. I have no idea what tribe that is. Maybe like a reptile tribe or something. But Drago, Cobra Moon wanted him to return to the tribe. Drago turned her down. As they're talking, Vinny shows up, and he interrupts them. Cobra Moon isn't pleased that he's there. Vinny ends up eating pizza. He's eating pizza in the restroom, in the men's room. Um, Not, I've been I've actually, like, as you, many of you have heard, we were actually we took a tour of the temple, and I gotta say, the restroom is probably not the worst place to eat pizza in the temple, you know? And kudo, all you guys are pointing out Vinny eating pizza, but I think you guys missed the most important part of that whole skit. Props to Vinny for actually not passing gas in front of all the believers. He actually went to the men's room and did that. So, some of you guys should actually, like, applaud him for that. Yeah. So after the after we see Vinny eating pizza in the men's room, um, we get Prince Puma versus Mil Muertes, which I thought was great. Absolutely great match. Mil Muertes. I mean, that guy has been solid in Lucha Underground. I mean, it's weird because you watch him in Lucha Underground and then you watch hit the what he does in AAA as Messias, and it just doesn't add up how much. I mean, I don't think AAA is using him as well lately because as Messias, he's in that Team Trump stuff, and so he really doesn't get to show as much as he gets to show. And I mean, really, I mean, we talk about Lucha Underground, and there's a lot of luchadors in the promotion that don't get to show what they can do in Lucha Underground because they're more focusing on their characters and storylines and stuff like that. So when you see them on indie shows, they're so much better, like Jeff Cobb and Thunder Rosa. I've seen them on indie shows. They look so much better at indie shows. Whereas in Lucha Underground, they're a little more limited to what they do. Like, I think Jeff Cobb as Matanza does a great job. So, but you get to see a little more of what he does, and I think if you've not seen Jeff Cobb without a mask, dude has a lot. I think he has great personality. I have no idea how WWE passed on that guy. But back to this match, Prince Puma versus Mil Muertes. I thought it was great. Puma getting the win with a 638 senton splash. Awesome. Hopefully that leads to something bigger for Prince Puma. I really hope they do. I would love to see another rematch. I know they did like a bit of a stare down between Prince Puma and Katrina. Not. I think that might be the end for Puma and Mil Muertes unless they do something down the road because it's a 40 episodes. Something else is going to happen at some point. But yeah, definitely watch that. That was really good. Also on this episode, Johnny Mundo really wants a match with Sexy Star for the Gift of the Gods title. He wants it so badly that he brought back the briefcase, the briefcase that had the $100,000 that he had won, or actually taken from Dario Cueto from, I think that might have been season 1. I can't even remember when, but I know that happened. Dario Cueto opens it up and notices, he's happy to get his money back, and Johnny Mundo tells him that it's actually not $100,000. It's actually $94,373, because he had to pay someone off to fix a problem he had. Really, Johnny Mundo could have done I think he could have saved that money, spent it on something else. Really, if you're gonna spend $94,373, I think you could have had Dario Cueto put your name exclusively on that Dial of Doom where it automatically lands on your name instead of facing Sexy Star. but hey, that's his money. He could do whatever he wants. But of course, it's part of their whole storyline with their feud and stuff like that. I think that's happening next week. So yeah, it's Sexy Star versus Johnny Mundo next week. But this past week was really good. Definitely go out of your way to watch the Lucha Underground episode. Like I said, Matanza versus Killshot, good. Drago versus Phoenix and Aerostar Drago versus Phoenix versus Aerostar, great. Prince Puma versus Mil Muertes, also great. The skits were good. Dario Cueto's great as always. Really fun show. Highly recommend watching that. Let me see what else has happened. Oh, at the end of the show, Rey Mysterio is talking to someone and telling them that, talking about Chavo Guerrero Jr., saying that both of them can't be in Lucha Underground. One of them has to go. And he's just there asking for, if it's okay with the person that he's talking to, that he get rid of Chavo. And that person ends up being Chavo Guerrero Sr., Chavo Classic. And Chavo Sr. didn't really seem to have a problem with it. So I guess we're getting another Rey Mysterio versus Chavo Jr. match. So that's something that those of you who like that could look forward to. I'm guessing Chavo Sr. might actually get involved or something. No idea. Hopefully he doesn't wrestle, because I don't think the last thing, if we've learned anything from watching the Dinamitas wrestle in that Legends show, is we don't really need to see more older, past their prime, over 50, over 60 wrestlers coming back to wrestle again. Especially if they're not Negro Navarro or Black Terry or Negro Casas, somebody who's actually really good. Yeah, so Lucha Underground was good. Check that out. Check out those elite matches. The Friday CML shows, like I was saying, every week something good. There's always at least one good match on there. Well, thanks again, everyone, for listening to the podcast. If you haven't checked, be sure to check out the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Downcast. We're now on Podbean also. So we should be. There's numerous places where you can find the podcast. If the Podbean feed also features some of the interviews, that's also going to be the feed where we'll probably add the other podcasts that we'll eventually add. We should be back next week talking about the Universal final between Valiente and Volador Jr., Lucha Underground, the most recent Lucha Underground show. Any news that pops up during the week. I think Alberto's supposedly going to have some news this week also. So thanks again for listening. Talk to you next week.